Culture. It's a part of our everyday life and it shapes who we are. When we think about culture, we often think religion, but you can't judge a book by its culture. Let's take a look at all the different ways culture has played a significant role in unifying states during ancient history.
Some of the earliest civilizations, including ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt, began to gather large amounts of resources, which allowed them to fund major projects. Hey, is that a pyramid I see? Pyramids were major structures built in ancient Egypt as tombs for their divine pharaohs and queens. In Mesopotamia, ziggurats were built for religious practices to please the gods. These buildings didn't appear from nowhere though. These civilizations were able to mobilize large amounts of labor and resources due to their organized forms of government. Monumental architecture showed their wealth and power and unified the civilization through organization. I guess you could call it monumental archiculture. Whoa, what is that? It seems to be a form of writing called hieroglyphics in ancient Egypt. As civilizations began trading more frequently with each other, they needed a way to record information and exchanges. Writing systems like cuneiform in Mesopotamia allowed for record keeping and gave a common identity among the other people. Hey Jennifer, what else can writing do?
Well, writing also allowed written laws like the Code of Hammurabi to be created. In this code, different punishments were given to different statuses for the same penalty. If an upper class man stole something, he might get a fine. But if a lower class man stole something, then
Wow.
code was able to unify many diverse people under uniform political laws.
Now it's time for the main event, religion. But we're not talking about Jesus or Buddha. Around 1500 BCE, a nomadic group known as the Aryans crossed into South Asia and brought their Vedic religion as they settled into agricultural life. They were polytheistic and passed down traditions orally. The creation of 4 social groups called Varnas also was the basis for the modern caste system and led to the influence of Hinduism.
Go. Hebrew monotheism originated from the migration of Hebrew people under Abraham out of Mesopotamia. This form of monotheism influenced the religions of Christianity and the Islam later on. All of these religious ideas gave people culturally unity through similar beliefs and practices. As these major civilizations became more complex, trading networks also became more complex. One example is Egypt and Nubia. Egypt didn't consider Nubia its best friend at all, but they still trade for their ivory, gold, and slaves. This trade also brought Egypt's culture like hieroglyphics and pyramids to the Nubia. Expanding trade networks let culture spread beyond their origin. Hey Sandesh, did all this culture impact the people?
I'm not so glad you asked, but I'll answer anyways. As civilizations became more complex, we know that there were more trade, more writing systems, all that good stuff. But it also gave social stratifications more legitimacy. Through trade, merchants were born, and labor was more specialized. Hierarchical divisions were also reinforced through laws like the Code of Hammurabi. Patriarchal nature was also reinforced through laws, religions, and other customs. This was no communism for sure. Inequality was the best policy. Even though ancient culture is completely different from culture today, it still plays a big role in unifying people and regions together like it did in the past. It inspired new religions, new structures, and new languages. The next time you see an interesting building or a new alphabet, just remember, it started 5,000 years ago.